Hey guys, welcome to Logic Beats, tutorial for Logic Pro X digital audio workstation. This is Neo with you, and a brief introduction about me. I work at Studio 9 Productions in Dubai as a producer, sound, mixing and a mastering engineer. These tutorials are for those people who are already a professional musician but do not know how to use a DAW, and to those people as well who do not know nothing at all about music but want to learn. So with not much talking, let me take you guys straight into Logic. Open your Logic Pro X. When you open Logic Pro X, you get a pop-up window asking you what would you like to do. Logic has already given us various templates included with it. We can choose any one of these to create a specified genre of music. I personally prefer firing up with an empty project. The details pane. You can set your tempo BPM of the track which you're producing straight from here or inside Logic. You can even tap your tempo if you have any melody in your mind and would like to get the rhythm of your melody, and set your project tempo straight from here. Personally, I prefer 130 right now. Key signatures. You can set your project's key signature of what key or root note you want your production or song to be made. If you do not know anything about keys, I will cover up an entire tutorial about key signatures separately. For the time being, let us choose C. The arrangement window. Once you have opened your empty project, Logic asks you again, what would you like to do? Would you like to record an instrument or would you like to record an audio straight into Logic? Let's not get much into this now. I will explain you all this in detail later. Let us load a software instrument as we want to create some chords. Once I insert a track, as you can see in my arrangement window, you get instrument 1. When you load your instrument, you must have already got an instrument loaded, and it might look different than mine. Don't worry, I'll explain it to you. I have set my Logic to load empty channel strip as I prefer to choose my instrument while producing. I will choose grand piano with the strings, and now it will look exactly or similar to yours. On the left, you have library for easy access to choose your instruments from. You can also load your instrument straight from the channel strip. Loop region in the arrangement window allows us to loop that particular region. Marker region in the arrangement window allows us to browse through the timeline or the bar line of the song. MIDI region. Now let's create our chords or chord progression. For that we need to create a MIDI region. Right click or two finger click on your mouse as per your Mac mouse or trackpad settings. You will get a pop-up window asking you what to do. Let's create a MIDI region so that we can create some chords. If you don't know anything about scales and chords, no worries. As I told you, I'll cover up an entire tutorial explaining you about scales and chords separately. Once you create a MIDI region, you get this. Please note that when you hover your mouse onto the extreme end of the MIDI region, you have two options. One is for looping the MIDI, and the other one is to increase the length of the MIDI. Let's increase the length to 4 bars as we need to create a chord progression. Our root node is C, which we have chosen, and we will create some chords with C major. If you do not know how to create a chord progression, don't worry. We have a website where it shows all the progressions you need to create wonderful tunes. Just check this out and we will create something from autochords.com. I have chosen the name from the drop-down list as memories, and instrument as piano, and key signature as C major. Automatically AutoChord shows me the progressions I need to create my music. Once you get used to this, it will be easy for you to memorize the chords. What are scales and chords? If you don't know what are scales and chords, please visit pianoworld.com. You can easily find the scales to the root note and the chords to the scales. Virtual Piano Chords automatically shows you the scales in C. Now, from here, let's see which progression to choose from, the main progression or the alternatives. In fact, we can make our own progressions from the list from the all chords in the key. We create as what we hear which sounds good to us. So let's be creative now, guys. To make it simple, we will choose a main progression, C, F, C, and G. A chord is a group of notes or scales. For example, when we say C major chord, we get C, E, and G. Let's create this first chord in our Midi editor. Double-click the Midi's title bar and it opens up a piano roll window below the arrangement window. Before we start adding our chord progressions here, let us first configure your system so that you can use all the available tools to edit and add your notes. As you can see, I have an arrow tool and a pencil tool next to it. In yours, it may not be there. To configure that, we need to go to Logic Pro X, Preferences, Advanced Tools, and show all and enable all. Command key plus left arrow and right arrow allows you to zoom in and zoom out. Same as with command key plus up and down arrow. As we decided to make a chord progression of C major, let's do it by creating it. Please look at me now how I create the chords carefully. Keep your command key pressed, you get the pencil tool. Click down a note. We get the C. As you remember, in our chord C, we had C, E, and G. So this is the E. You can see your notes in the info display window. Let's create E. Then G. That's our first chord, C major. Now let's check which is our second chord progression. It's an F. So the notes in F is F, A, C. Let's create it now. F, A, C. As you can see, this C note is on C4 octave. We want to create our chords in the same octave. Unless you really want to create it on the next octave. So we'll do an inversion of that note to C3. Our next chord is C again. So we lay down C, E, G. We don't need to create these chords again. We can just copy and paste from what we have already created, the C, E, G. For that, select all notes. Keep your Alt key pressed and move it to the third bar. Let's create our fourth chord. It's G and the notes in G is G, B, D. Keep your command key pressed and let's lay down the note. G, B, and as my D is going to the next octave, I'll make an inversion and put that D in D3. There you go. You have got your first chord progression in C major. Congratulations, guys. You have created your first chord progression in C major. I will see you in our next class and we will learn how to make melodies from our first chord progression. For the time being, save your project as day 1 till we meet again.